Hey guys, welcome back. Takashi here, back with another episode of Crimson Gray, Dusk and Dawn. So, we are back in the classroom now. Again, last time we had to make a choice, right? We had to make a choice. Whether that choice was a good one or not, I mean, we know it was definitely better than some of them. I'm pretty sure getting the napalm was not the right one. Something tells me. Um, I am a little curious to maybe go back and select some of those choices, just to see what would happen if she actually gets napalm. But I think some of those we should probably avoid. First of all, because I'm not into gore, and second of all, because I don't know if that would do too well on YouTube. But I am very curious about the napalm. I'm not a chemist, so maybe napalm's actually easy to make. I don't know. Frankly, I don't want to know because I don't want to be on an FBI watch list. Who knows? Maybe I already am for doing this Yandere stuff. Anyhow, let's get back to it. After the incident, Lizzie spent a while sorting through her remaining thoughts. She had completely filled up one notebook, so she started a second, took it with her to boring classes. Math wasn't boring, but she did find herself running her fingers over the edge of the notebook as she worked. Later, for now. Wait. Let me read it here. That one. Math wasn't boring, but she did find herself running her fingers over the edge of the notebook as she worked. Later, for now, she would finish the requirement. Maybe the later's like saying like that's her inner thought. It's a little confusing there, so I was thrown off by. I think that's her saying in her head like it didn't have quotation marks, but I think it's her in her head saying, "I'll do that later," and then she's gonna finish the requirements now. Lizzie didn't mind math. It was straightforward, free of judgments, though she didn't understand her professor's talk about its elegance and beauty. It didn't seem incomprehensible to her. He was all right for a non-John person. That's the way. That's the way. Lucy class. There's, the whole saying. There's two types of people in this world: John and not John, and that's essentially how she classifies everyone. Outside of herself, of course. Well, I guess she's a not John too, but not in the same. You know what I'm saying. After class, she floated across campus to return home. That annoying couple tried to engage her in conversation again, but she was able to make polite small talk without committing to anything and keep on her way without wasting too much time. Oh no, did we make the wrong choice before? Are we the reason why John's looking like this? Please no. Please don't be. Then she arrived home and found John looking at her notebook. Oh, he's looking at the notebook. So maybe he's concerned about what he sees in it, but we did tell him about it, so he should know. Let's see. Well, let's read. I shouldn't be making too hasty of judgments here. Her focus condensed down to a single point flickering over everything. His posture, his eyes, the exact set of his mouth, the speed at which he looked up toward her. Once such a thing would have been terrifying. It still made her scared that she might have gone too far this time. Added doubt to his mind and ruined the relationship. And he did have a concerned look on his face, so there would be no simple, easy solution. Lizzie, are these things you felt that you couldn't tell me? What? No, not at all. Okay, I do believe you. Have you been keeping notebooks like these as long as we've been together? She squirmed a little at that. Her desire to smooth things over and make him happy, warning against her desire to be completely honest with him. I had books like these a long time ago. But no. I only started again recently. That's the only one, other than the new one I just started. Did something happen to make you more stressed? Is it something I've done? There was real pain in his eyes, and Lizzie hated herself for a brief moment. She had caused him more pain, just as she'd sworn to herself that she would never do again. But her John never rushed to judgment, and he was strong, even if he was often sad, and she longed to protect him. Their relationship had been through more intense things. This wouldn't be the end. Lizzie carefully sat down opposite him. It definitely isn't anything you did, John. And it isn't anything specific. I've just been a little anxious lately. I was worried the speech might be more of a problem. I can understand that. He kept leafing through the notebook, leaving Lizzie to squirm uncomfortably. It represented her true thoughts, but some of them felt a little awkward under his gaze, and she couldn't tell what he was thinking. The fact ate her up inside until she couldn't hold it back anymore. You don't hate me, right? Nothing in the notebook scares you? Look at that face. He's like, no, of course not. You can just see it in his eyes. John looked up at her in astonishment. A moment later, he moved forward to embrace her. And though that was wonderful, it was his honest surprise at her question that meant the most. She had just been paranoid. There had been no need to fear. You know, I honestly didn't read that before making those comments, so it's good to know I'm kind of on the same wavelength that Sierra was writing it about. All right, I wasn't blind to it. You know, I mean, maybe it was obvious, but still, it's cool when you have those moments where it's like, oh yes, I gave the right thoughts to it. Why are the curtains green? Sorry, that just made me think of the whole thing, the whole English class stereotype, reading class stereotype there. They're like, why are the curtains green? What does it mean? Like, I don't like to dig that deep into stories. I don't think that kind of symbolism is necessary, per se. But I do like these kind of symbolisms, like through words and emotions, and especially in visual novels. Like, because like in visual novels, there's a lot less expression you can have necessarily, because it's not, you know, unlike a TV show, there's less movement, you know, things like that. It's images, static images, but you can use expressions. And I think, again, Sierra does a really good job with it in this. So, here we go. Oh, Lizzie, of course I wanted to hate you. I'm just sad that you were stressed and felt like you couldn't tell me. He wrapped up an arm around her and pulled her so they sat side by side, and then pulled the notebook into his lap. When I read these, I mostly just see you. This is who you are, and I can feel your love for me on every page. Turning the page to one of her drawings of killing Smith, his lips twisted in a bit of a smile. These are, I don't know, cute? I've seen you murderous, Lizzie. Whoops, imagine if he actually mispronounced her name. I think she'd, like, at this point she'd understand, but, like, early on, that would have been dangerous. Like, because, like, I know, like, saying the wrong name, but I'm reading it, actually saying the wrong name, you know, you typically don't mispronounce someone's name. It's just because I'm reading. And I'm a bit of a klutz. And this is different. Playful. If this helps you release your feelings, I think it's healthy. Oh, John. I should have known you would understand. I'm not perfect. But I'm always here, and I want to understand you. You know, I keep commenting on it, but I just really like to say, but I do have to give a disclaimer about this as well, guys. I never played a Sierra game I did not enjoy, but at the same time, most of her games are 18 plus. So if you are below the age of 18, do not play her games. But if you are above the age of 18 and you're okay with explicit content, give them a try. The storytelling is great, even if you're not into that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? The storytelling alone, even on the ones that are like, that is a focus of it, the stories are still amazing. So I must recommend. I would play them on YouTube, but I can't. So you're not gonna be able to see that. Um, but who knows? I guess maybe I could edit it to just have the non parts of scene with the story. We'll see. Again, that'd be a little more work, but might be worth it. Might be worth it. So I'll see about it. Which is why I have to ask: is it really nothing? Is there a reason you've been more stressed lately? Is it things like the girl in your psych class? Sorry, my throat's a little clogged. Been a little under the weather recently. Lizzie sighed and leaned against his chest, considering. It was a difficult question, not just because she had to think about what the best answer would be, but also because she wasn't entirely certain herself. In her mind, her thoughts all flowed together. Speaking with him made them feel clear, but it wasn't always easy. Alright, so we're back to a choice again. Let's see what we got. Reassure him it wasn't his fault. Ask him to help with dealing with stressors. Explain the thoughts that went into the notebook. Okay. Honestly, this is one of the first choices where I see benefits in all three and downsides to all three. So I actually want to walk through them, okay? So the first one is reassure him it wasn't his fault, right? We do know John struggles with depression. We know he also has his own stresses, but we also know that he wants to so that would be comforting to him. But we also know that he wants Lizzie to be honest with him. He wants her to open up. So while this would be honest that it's not his fault, that's also closing him out from what the issues are, not addressing it. Ask him to help with dealing with stressors, okay? So this one has the benefit of the con we talked about last time. It is telling him, hey, please help me deal with this, because he wants to be involved. He wants to help, right? So it's good in that aspect. And then explain the thoughts that went into the notebook. Again, so this one again would be going in and telling him about it, but also it could be adding to his stress by going into it too much if it is something like that. But I think, at least for now, I'm going to pick explain the thoughts that go in the notebook. Now, we may have to step back on this one because I don't know if I'm stepping on a landmine here. But I believe I told you guys plenty of times, no matter what kind of relationship it is, like if it's someone you trust, communication is key. Now, that's not to say you can't have secrets between each other, okay? Like, secrets are okay. Secrets are needed sometimes. Some things are just private. Wow, I got really southern there for a second. Excuse my inner Florida coming out. But I do think that, again, that's really important there. So we're going to go with explain the thoughts that went into the notebook. Again, this is just my thoughts on it, but I think this is the best choice here. You mentioned the terrible girl from psych class. All the awful things she said about us. Lizzie flipped to the page after that event had occurred. Pages, actually. She had forgotten how much she had written after that, though now it was crystal clear to her. After it happened, I felt everything. I hate her, John. I still wish I could get rid of her. But you won't, right? No. Writing it down, it captures what I'm feeling. Somehow. When I look over it again, I remember all the emotions. But there's some distance now. They're not as strong inside me. I think I get that. Maybe that's a healthy thing. Though I do worry that sometimes you get yourself more worked up writing out your thoughts. But it doesn't have to be writing, John. I get the same effect from talking to you. And it's better that way. Not just because I'm talking to you, but because you always have new thoughts and interesting things to say. And sometimes I think about things differently. I'm glad to hear that. I'm always here to talk, Lizzie. I know. I know. It's wonderful. But I don't have to share everything, do I? Sometimes what I'm thinking is just silly, and it doesn't matter. I don't want to waste your time. He considered that very seriously, then pulled her a little closer with a smile. You can tell me anything at all, Lizzie. But don't feel obliged, obligated. It means the same thing, so I guess I could have just kept it. But yeah, obligated. Unless you don't have a working brain. Everyone has tons of minor thoughts. They just pass through your mind. They don't matter unless you focus on them. I mean, I have lots of dumb little thoughts. There's no point sharing. That's not true. I'd love to see every single thought you ever think. I believe you. But since that's not the world we live in, we can just talk to each other, okay? She eagerly nodded and pressed herself against him. Even closer, she was right to talk to him. John always had good things to say. Alright, so right now I'm feeling really good about my choice. I thought that communication was good. I was a little worried if, it came off a little too things and stressed him out more. But I think, again, looking back on it, he already had an idea from looking at it. He had already seen it, so he can kind of guess it. And if it's left vague, that might worry him even more by not knowing it. But now that he actually knows the thoughts go into it, and also they've established perhaps a better communication, like, hey, I'm sure they have had this talk tens of times before. But reaffirming it, especially, with both of them, having that self-doubt in them. I think that's really important. And, if you guys have any friends in your life or any family members or anyone close to you who does have that self-doubt, offer them that affirmation. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we get caught up in this whole society of, we don't, some of us might be hesitant about affirmation because there's some people that fish for affirmation. You know what I mean? Like those kind of people that go online and say, oh, I'm ugly, right? Just so people can say, oh, no, you're beautiful, you're that, you're that, you're that. And, yes, that does get tiring, but for people close to us, sometimes giving them that affirmation, like saying you're worth it, you know what I mean? Like, I love being around you, I enjoy being around you. Yes, those words, I enjoy being around you, or, it's fun being around you. That can mean a lot to someone, especially someone who, does doubt themselves. Like, am I bringing some to this friendship, they might think, so if you tell them that, that can mean a lot. And I probably need to do that more myself too. But, and that's what I like about stories and games is they can really make you reflect on things. Like, like your grandparents, if your grandparents are still around, are you spending enough time with them? Because, time is limited. Or your parents, if you're older, they're older. Take advantage of those things while you have. Again, guys, sorry for getting sentimental there, but I think it's nice to kind of sometimes just take a step back and reflect on things from the story and also reflect on how it is in your life as well. Because that's what storytelling is. It's all about relating it to your own emotion, human emotion, and the human story. I probably sound like some high pretentious person saying that, like super pretentious, but yeah, that's just kind of how I see it. But as warm as things were between them, Lizzie felt a bit of hesitance. When she looked at his face, she saw something shift and realized that there was something less pleasant he wanted to bring up. That something in the notebook upset him. Her heart began hammering in her chest. There is one thing we need to talk about. I don't like, this page, for example. Lizzie blinked in surprise as she scanned it quickly. It was a page of dense writing where she talked about him, largely about her love for him, and many other things. What could be amiss here? Do you always write pronouns for me? Oh! 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 He brought it up! He brought it up. Okay, alright. Do you always write pronouns for me with a capital letter? Yes! Oh my goodness, so it's being acknowledged. It's so funny. I just brought this up. And like I told you guys, I did play this like a couple years ago, but I do not remember this point at all. Like when I brought that up, I did not remember that at all. But again, I just thought it was a cool story element. But seems like for John, it's worrying. Maybe I thought he knew about the obsession. I'm pretty sure he did. So let's see what he says about it and kind of try to get those thoughts. Of course, John. You're not like any other boy. You're the only person for me. Whew! Powerful. Like, we knew that's how she thought, but it's still powerful to hear it, you know? I mean, I'm glad you love me, but I don't know about this. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it. What? Why not? She stared at him, hiding the true dismay from her face. Inside, she was panicking. Usually, John was so calm and steady. She loved understanding more about him. When she was actually felt confused, it always terrified her. Forced her to wonder if she was somehow drifting away from him forever. I know how intensely you feel things, but this just feels like a little much. I want you to be my partner, Lizzie. I don't want you to worship me. But John deserves it. Ooh, did you guys read that? Or hear me say that, whichever one. But John deserves it. She's speaking to John right now. So she didn't say, but John, you deserve it. But John, that second person point right there is exactly what John is talking about. Not just the capitalization, but the way she frames it, that also kind of has that separation to it, you know? Anyhow, you're wonderful, and I love you with my whole heart. I know that, but since I love you too, I have to be honest with you. This worries me a little bit. This capitalized version of me, is that really me? I'm almost afraid all this is for someone else that represents me, but isn't me in truth. No! It isn't like that at all. That is one of the psychology points of a Yandere. I believe we discussed it before in previous videos. It's been a while, so I can't remember for certain, but the idea of them seeing... Actually, no, I'm pretty sure we even talked about in the series. What am I talking about? I'm slow. If I remember correctly, we have, but that whole idea of their version of you that they see versus the actual you, and that's an obsessed person's mindset. They see this idealized version of you, and that's what John's worried about here, that she doesn't see the real him. She clutched him to her, his head against her chest, while she gripped one hand in his hair. But through her dismay, she began to understand. The thought upset her a little, and the idea that she might be worshipping some false form of him was terrifying. But she could understand it. John was still her John. Okay, yeah. So she says it here, she can understand where he's coming from. That's that's what I really like about Lizzie compared to a lot of the other ones. A lot of the other ones, they don't even understand the complexity of their mindset. They just, they see it as normal to them. Like, that's normal for them. Almost like just like a character. But Lizzie feels a little more real in that aspect, that she does, she can see a bit of herself, like, see like, oh, maybe that is different. And sometimes we can tell that she does have a different perception of normal, but due to her intellect, she can understand the normal of other people to a certain extent, and that can help her compare everything. And John is her base for everything. Like, she can definitely use him to level out her mindset there, which I think is why she doesn't go on a murder spree. So thanks, John. He helps with that. So anyhow, back to the story. If I just refer to you like any other boy, it doesn't feel right. Like I'm saying they're the same as you, and I would never betray you like that, John. Lizzie, I think I understand that a little. But can you understand me too? I do, John. I do. She stopped gripping him. Lowercase him. So tightly, and let capitalize him pull back slightly. That's interesting. So we saw her go to the lowercase and then go back to the uppercase. So we can kind of see a bit of the struggle there. They stared into each other's eyes for a long while, and both smiled. Nothing that had been said changed their love for each other, and they both knew it. Lizzie leaned forward to kiss lowercase him gently. I wonder if we're going to see a bit of a mixture or what's going on there, because we did still see this him capitalized. Let's see. John was being too humble, but she wouldn't argue over that with him. Okay, so yeah, I think we're going to see a bit of a mix for a while. Let's keep reading and see where we go. I'm not going to comment on each one, guys. I'm sorry for that. But just noticing the trends, calling it out. She understood why he was upset, and she didn't mean to suggest anything like that. Certainly not to him. And now she needed to avoid suggesting it to herself. Maybe she could accomplish the same thing another way. It was only her fear that she was betraying him that made her think that way. If she had no fear, if she loved him even more utterly and totally, she never had, and totally, than she ever had before, then it wouldn't matter if she capitalized the word or not. Okay. All right. Though she wasn't there yet, Lizzie felt peaceful enough to quiet her thoughts and just enjoy kissing him for a while. And kissing him. Alright, so I think we're going to see that. We're seeing that transition there. Like, and she's acknowledged herself there, like, she's, like, kind of, like, trying to put that in there. And I really think that what we need to kind of look at here is that the capitalization, what we're reading here is her thoughts, right? Like, how she's seeing it. So this isn't even her writing, this is her thoughts. So in her brain, yes, we don't necessarily think in terms of letters, but you can think in terms of emphasis. So just think of the capitalization as an emphasis on it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing in her thoughts. When they finished, John pulled back and smiled gently at her. Well, this has been quite a conversation. If you want to take a break, I'd understand, but if you want to keep talking, I'm here for you. All I want is for you to hold me a little longer, okay? Of course. He held her just like that for a long time. Even afterward, when they got their textbooks and began reading, he stayed close, letting her rest against him, so they were always touching. By the time they were ready to go to bed, Lizzie no longer felt nervous about him discovering her notebooks, but she also had a feeling that she wouldn't need them anymore. Wow. That's a big step. So let's see if that stays that way, you know, if this feeling ends up being the truth. But wow, okay, I guess I rambled a lot this one because that wasn't even that long of a scene, but this has been almost 28-minute episode. Almost 30-minute episode. Probably will be a 30-minute episode by the time I finish my outro. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't ramble too much, or at least, it added something to it versus taking away from the experience. Once again, guys, if you made it this far, you're the one of the true ones, and I really appreciate you. So if you're not already subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. Please do comment below. I really like to communicate with you guys, seeing you guys talk. Honestly, that's one of the biggest motivators for me to do this. As you guys know, this isn't a monetized channel or anything like that, at least not at this point. So for me, a big part for it is the interaction with you guys. That's a big part for me. And also just being able to enjoy games and all that kind of stuff as well. But again, that context. So I really do like when you guys comment and enjoy that. Enjoy just the conversation of it, like especially games like this that get you thinking, right? Anyhow, again, love you guys so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Laters.